didn't they do great, by the way? The two other presentations. First one was like almost all slides. Second one was like half slides. I won't do any slides because that's not my style. That's all right. I'll start. Okay, please. We can see this, right? I'll make it a bit bigger. I do lots of typing. This is Manchester Studio, the new one, version 21. It's in it's preview 4. You can get it. It's good. I like it. If I go to a script that I had earlier, you can see that you've got this nice scroll bar over on the side. You've got vertical tab groups, which is brilliant. It's like so many things that I just go, okay, I really like that about stuff. But anyway, I can pin stuff by accident when I don't mean to. Right, my name is Rob Farley. You can find me on LinkedIn and so on if you want. I'm Rob Farley. I'm rob@loftspot.com.au, which is who Kelly works for as well, of course. I want to talk today about T-SQL's apply, okay? Because what I find is a lot of people still like T-SQL for transforms and so on. And I'm getting a few nods around that place. That's good. Because I get that it's not fashionable anymore, right? People say, oh, no, we want to use PySpark for all our transforms and so on. I get that. But I also see that a lot of organizations still have heavy investments in SQL. And T-SQL is still a very required skill that you should totally be across. And I want to show you why apply is ridiculously significant for you. Now, have you all heard of apply in T-SQL? Really? Okay, who you just curious?
In LinkedIn?
Sorry?
Is it like apply in LinkedIn?
No, not at all. He's not here anymore, is he? He's just out there. He can't hear the.
He's out of earshot.
It's fine. We can say what we like. He's not in the room. He's out of earshot. It's fine. He'll come back in and be like. So the thing with apply, and yes, I always type in demos. When you get taught about apply, you get taught that it's like being able to do a. You get taught that it's like being able to do a kind of a join, but against a function, like a table value function, right? And one of the examples that I always see people do is like against. I'm going to make the text not quite so huge. Is that big enough? Yep. Yeah. I just want to be able to like see the screen. And annoyingly, there's no pin on this tabs, right? So I can't make that just disappear. And there's a ridiculously wide. It's not perfect yet. This preview 4 of Manchester Studio 21. But I really like it. And check this out. Check out this menu, Git. I know, right? Anyway. You might be used to seeing apply by saying cross apply and applying some function. I should know what this is from my demo. Yeah, that's good. And then passing in a value from the first, I want to shrink this some more. Right. Being able to pass in a column from the first table into the table value function from the second, and this is going to give me, I've got to actually connect because I have a machine before, and this is going to be results to say, hey, look, there's this query, but my query is the only one that's run on here. And so this happens to show me the query that I ran with my name at the start in the comments and all that kind of stuff. This is how people get taught about apply, right? And in fact, even if you ask ChatGPT, since it's a theme tonight, about being able to use apply says, oh yes, apply is about calling table value functions. And it does like this. I want to show you something now which is going to change the way that you think about apply massively, and I think can potentially change the way that you do all kinds of transforms. Let me show you. First of all, I'm going to imagine, oh, by the way, I'm going to use AdventureWorks because it's a great example to see you later. I'm creating a function here called count products, and I'm going to pass in an integer, and I'm going to count the number of products in that product subcategory. Create this. I've got to connect that one as well because what have I done? I'm in the wrong. It's defaulted me to the different database. So I've created this function, And then I've got to change the database for this one too. So then I can say select star from production dot product subcategory. I'll just type sub and see if it will find that one there. S, and I can say cross apply. Count products. I've got to refresh the IntelliSense. Got to look at the other file. DBA count products. That's right. Count products S dot, and I'm wanting the IntelliSense to refresh for me, and it's not going to. It has now. Cool. So I can run this, and it's going to, and this is that same concept of being able to pass in, for a tabulate function. It's giving me an extra column in my results, which is the results of this function, right? And I can make that extra nice by saying, well, I'm just going to alter this now, and I'm actually going to say, also give me, for example, the max of list price as max price, for example, right? I can do something like that, run my query again, and now I've got 2 columns coming back. This is really handy. If you had considered using a scalar function for get me the number of products per subcategory, that's a bad thing to do. Do not use scalar functions in your SQL environments because they are bad. They're less bad than they were pre-2016, but they're still bad. Don't do it. Typically, anytime you create something with a begin and an end, such as a scalar function or as a multi-statement table value function, it will have to spin that up in a separate context to what you're running. And that is never going to be good for you. In a longer version of this talk, I give demonstrations about that and show you how to discover how bad your stuff's being, but it's seriously bad. It kind of runs a procedure, right? Begin and end means you've got a procedure. And it will run that procedure and have to handle passing the results around from context to context to be able to do it. I see people just go, this is fine. I'm using that there, but I'll quickly make a little scalar function and I'll call that there instead. And suddenly performance dies. And it's because it's spinning up like 1 million copies of this store procedure. And it's not good. Someone's going to let in the people who join, right? But the reason why I'm kind of okay with this is because this is just a returns table as return, right? It's treated the same as a view, like it's a parameterized view. It's great. When I look at the query plan for this, you'll see that it's actually looking at both tables, product subcategory and product. This is exactly the same as if I'd done it using a expanded query, right? But I'm going to tell you right now that I don't have to do it using a table value function because I can take what I've got here and I can just put it into a subquery. Right? I'm going to put that there. I'm going to call that P. I'm going to still pass that in so that it's correlated. P there is S dot subcategory. Just tying it up for the sake of, making sure I'm aliasing stuff, right? So you can see this, you can see what's going on here, right? I've effectively got the definition of my table value function inside a subquery that I'm calling using cross apply. I can't run this subquery by itself because it refers to something which doesn't exist outside that, right? I get an error saying, no, I don't know what S is. But I can run that there and get... Okay, I can run that there and it still gives me those same results. It's an indexing. But immediately you can see a few things about this query, which I think become ridiculously important when you're dealing with transformations and so on. In fact, all your SQL code. But these days, people care about transformations and analytics and all that kind of stuff. And let's face it, we've now got Fabric SQLDB, as we know from looking at the back of Kelly's laptop. Sure. And so if you had been thinking, T-SQL's kind of gone, no, it's really not. It's there. It's right there in the Fabric world. used to take something like mirroring, which of course is a feature in SQL Server 2025, as they talked about at Ignite beginning of last year. And so you can stick mirroring to be able to mirror it across, or you can be moving stuff across into Fabric SQL for your bronze or even silver layers, and then using T-SQL to transform that to the next step, leveraging some of the T-SQL transformations that you might have had from back when everything was on-prem. Do not think for a second that T-SQL has gone away, right? It's just less fashionable at the moment, right? We all go through that phase. We like to think we've got a comeback coming. I've been through enough midlife crises now. I know I'm not going to drop in the stand-up. That's fine. I won't. For those of you who have linked to me on LinkedIn, and I know a few of you have tonight, you'll see that in my catch line, it comments that I also work as Santa. Talk to me about it later, and I'll tell you some stories. I don't want to drop into that right now. A few things about this that are great. For starters, I can refer to what I'm defining here. In the where clause, I can refer to what I'm defining in this P subquery, right? Because that's part of my from clause. You know that concept of going, from where, group by, having, select, order by, where you can't, if you've got group by whatever, for example, you can't then refer to that anywhere. You've got some calculation that you're doing in select. You can't then go, oh, hang on, you end up repeating that calculation all over the place, right? Look, I can refer to max price and num products right here. So I can say where max products is more than 10, right? And I run this and I filtered it. That's so much nicer, isn't it, than trying to go, group by subcategory ID, having, count star greater than 10, all that kind of stuff. It's, because let's face it, that sucks, right? Trying to do it that way. To me, I look at this and I go, I think this is a whole lot easier, right? So I like the fact that I can refer to where. I can still group by if I want to. I can order by it. I can refer to things in the select, of course. I can easily just refer to the things I want. And also, by the way, if I don't want to refer to list price, so to max price, then it's going to be able to simplify that out and not bother looking at the list price column and potentially leverage a better index, right? It's really handy. If you've got like a scalar function or you've got a multi-statement thing, it just goes, I've got to run this block of code, and it doesn't, and it will work out everything, not knowing what things you're interested in. This is much more simplifiable, works a whole lot better, right? So I get the benefits of being able to refer to things in the where clause, right? And of course in select and in order by, all of that. Group by, having, if I need to. But look, I'm actually avoiding using group by here. Right? Now, I'm doing a very abbreviated version of this talk. Quick question for you, side point. I'm going to start a new window. I know, right? If I say select 1, how many rows do I get back? Not a trick question. How many rows do I get back? 1. I should say if I say select 0, how many rows do I get back? 1, right, come. Yeah, let's check. If I say where 1 equals 2, how many rows do I get back?
Yeah.
None, right, because, and I can show you, because we're kind of pretending that we've got like a table here, which I'm going to call dual for a second for the sake of the Oracle fans in the room. In Oracle, you can't have a select without a from, and so they put a table here called dual, which has 1 row in it. Apparently, it used to have 2, and then they went, actually, having 2 is stupid. So anyway, it's just a thing, right? Now, let's change this to actually say from production.products, right? Now I've got like 500 and whatever rows, right? If I say count star, how many rows have I got back? 1. What if I put a where clause in there? How many rows have I got back? 1, right? It says the result is 0, right? I don't know, it's taking someone to connect. Anyway, it's probably still 1 row, because this all happens with aggregates. The way that we could get rid of that 1 row is by saying having, right? And then we can get rid of it, right? But if we've got a where clause, that's still. If we don't have the from clause, we've still got one row, right? Unless we had having, in which case we don't, right? But the concept of saying, trust me when I say from is kind of optional, right? Means that we can do something like select star. Let me go undo a bunch of times. Right, let me go back to here, right? And I'm going to change this to star, right? I'm going to P. Now, if I think about that concept of from is optional, what if I go cross apply and I'm going to call it TF, whatever, I don't know. If I just go select P dot list price times 1.1 as price in GST, I don't have a from clause, right? I don't have a where clause. How many rows is that subquery returning? Always exactly one. And it's very easy to demonstrate always exactly one because there's nothing that's filtering in that, right? It runs happily. It gives me that extra column. There's lots of zeros in there because there's, I've got this things with the prices. Right? But now I get to filter using that. Right? All kinds of things. And suddenly I've got working calculations halfway through my query. I'm not having to go, select this price times 1.1 and then where this price times 1.1 is, and all that kind of stuff. And then find that, actually I've got I've had to change that value to something else and I've forgotten to apply it in one of the spots. Right? To do the change in one of the spots. I could contain these working calculations just by putting it inside an apply like this. Right? Exactly one row coming back. Important, right? So how many rows do I start with? 505. Okay. I'm just reading down the bottom here. 505 rows. If without the where clause, because that's actually going to filter it, right? With that cross apply on that, can that change the number of rows? No, it can't, right? Because it's always exactly one row. Let me go back to my earlier query. How many rows come out of this? Given that it uses an aggregate with no having clause, how many rows come back of this? You've already answered the question. Exactly one every time, right? So if I have exactly 38 rows here, there's 37 in the original one. I always add an extra one called empty subcategory because it's useful. You've got to put edge cases in your test data, right? And AdventureWorks comes with only product subcategories that have products in it, and I think that's crap.
So why did you use the outer apply?
I'll come back to outer apply in a second.
Because
Because outer apply is very important, and I'll show you that in a moment. Right? So I've got exactly 38 here. If I have the cross apply as well, how many rows? Well, 38. I can guarantee that, right? Because I know that the impact of this little subquery is not going to affect the number of rows in my base table, right? Does this suddenly remind you of debugging transforms for your analytics? Where you're going, hang on a second, why have we got a different number of rows here than we had in our base tables? What the heck? And you go through looking for where you've accidentally filled with something else. And when you've got join, you're just like, and you can't tell that, especially if you've got join to some dimension table where the business key matches and the back date is between the start date and the end date of the dimension. And then you find that actually you've got a problem with your dimension table and you've got some overlapping things and it's matched 2 rows and you're like, oh crap, right? Does this ring bells? Right. Shell agrees, right? Yeah. So imagine with me for a second, right? I feel like based on time. What time did I start? I didn't actually look. About 10 minutes. Okay. They're not getting much from this. That's fine. They just might be like, I don't understand T-SQL. It's all over my head. The rest of you coping okay? You get what I'm doing? I'm actually hoping that if your T-SQL is maybe not that strong that actually you're seeing that I'm showing you how to write T-SQL that is more simple, right? Do you know that scenario where you go select star from some table? Let's imagine I'm talking about I've got like students, right, or customers, right? I know that they have customers in here. I'm just imagine with me, right? You know how you go then like and join to orders, right? On O dot whatever, right? And you join to, and you do left joins because you don't want to accidentally filter out a customer. That would be awful. You want to keep your customers. And you're going, and then you go join to reviews, right? And you left join, and you join to what's something else that they do? No, like feedback items. No, that's review. Something else that customers do.
Invoice.
Returns.
Return description. Right. Right. And so on, right? And then you go, oh, group by C dot customer, right?
Yeah.
You've seen this scenario, right?
Yeah.
And you had started off like this, right? Just looking at orders, and your count star worked fine, right? And then you sum with orders was great, right? And then you join to reviews, and because only one person left a review, that's fine, right? And your numbers don't actually change. But then somebody puts a second review in, and all of a sudden it looks like their orders have doubled, right? You've seen this? Yep. Now imagine the scenario where you're going, oh, not that one. Now imagine a scenario where you've gone, oh, I've just counted the, products of that, right? And then I go, oh, and now I want to count the reviews, right? And I want to look at, what's happening with that, etc. And because each one is self-contained, you're not suddenly multiplying your aggregates out. It's just because you've hit two rows, right? So suddenly, when you're going, oh, hang on, I've got to debug this, actually you can debug it way easier because you can debug each little block. Now, please understand, if you're one of these people that thinks that T-SQL, everything should be modularized, right? And you should create functions for everything and all that kind of stuff. And so please stop doing that because there are times, like with those scalar functions, like I mentioned earlier, that actually it really doesn't work out for you by doing that. But when you're trying to debug something and you've got nice little subquery blocks like this, actually, that's your friend. Because all of a sudden I can be like, oh, hang on a second, this one here could return multiple rows, right? Or that could filter. Now, you asked a second ago, I used to know your name, didn't I? I knew you a while back, right?
Yes.
What was your name?
Alex Lam.
Of course. Oh,
I'm much older now.
yeah, I am. Last time I spoke here was 2008. In fact, I feel like I should take a picture of the room. That's
I was going to do that again.
No, but like I can do like one of these, like Bradley Cooper selfies, right? Find out Ellen selfies. Who did the selfie?
Em đã không xong. Very good.
And I'll put that on something like that. And then you can tag yourself. Last time I spoke here was 2008. I was much younger. We stopped registrations at 200. We were downstairs in the room over there. It packed in. It was scary. And then I think I got attacked from my job. And I got taken to court. No, I took him to court. I set up a company. No, it's all good. It was fun times. It was a long time ago. This is good to be back speaking at the Melbourne News Group. I love you guys. It's great.
Em học đi học ở đây.
Now the leaders of people I like. No, I love Darren.
Em học Việt Nam.
It's not important. It is. It's fine. It's all good. I'm not going to disparage anyone. You asked, what about outer apply? Now, in case you don't know, I'm writing cross apply here all the time because you have to say something before the word apply, and it's either cross or outer, right? Outer means if this doesn't return a row, do I filter out my base table or not? Right? It's just like using an outer join versus an inner join, but we use cross for some reason. It's not quite a cross join, but it kind of is if you think this produces one row. Just one row in the context of that value. Yeah, it's what they do. The standard doesn't have to be right. It's just what we have to use. Cross apply, outer apply. Right. Now, the thing is, I don't need this to be outer apply because I know this is returning exactly one row. If I had a having in there so that maybe it was 0 rows, I might want outer. But let me show you a trick. I've got here, look, this script here is one that I used in Dfinity a few months back. And I've got a bunch of stuff in there, all kinds of great examples about like how apply can make unpivot so much easier, how apply can make you be able to update a table where you've got a group by involved. You know that thing, if you can't update that table because you've got group by in your query, apply lets you get around that. It's amazing. Fantastic. Talk to me afterwards because I don't want to keep you all around. I kind of want to go, should I keep going? Just in case you want me to. But that's not the point of tonight. By the way, in November when this meeting was going to happen, I agreed to speak at it because I was going to be in Melbourne anyway. Because it was a few days after my birthday. I turned 50. Martin remembers 50. A long time ago for him. I love Martin, he's a great guy. So old. No. But
Experience strong.
sorry?
It's experience.
Experience, that's right. He's so experienced. And my mum lives in Victoria, my 2 brothers, my twin. I know he's not like me at all. I do have a twin. He's not like me at all. Sorry? Can you meet him? Sure. He lives in Croydon. But I 36 Bartlett Avenue. Just tell him I said hi. But you know, my mum who lives out near Lake Eildon wanted me to be in Melbourne so that she could catch up with me. And so I came over and so I was like, that's fine, I'll go and I'll speak at the user group while I'm over there. That works. And then of course it got cancelled. So I came to Melbourne and saw my mum with no other excuse for being here. I love
And
my
you
mum.
couldn't even claim it in expenses.
Seriously, what the heck? But and so then it got rescheduled, and I don't have another reason to be here. And I'm having to stay the night tonight because the last flight back home to Adelaide has gone already. And anyway, so I'm here. It's a nice place. I like you people. Mostly. That's fine. Yeah. So I want to give you this example about. We could ask me later if you send me a message and ask me for the script that I did at Dfinity when this was a talk that went for about 3 hours. No, it wasn't. It was an hour.
Just felt me through.
Yeah.
But I know, right? That's fine. You can say it. It's fine. Because actually, I'm giving you a lot of stuff here, and I'm hoping that actually you just go, I understand that. That's great, and that is actually just sinking in. But I totally get that if I was doing maybe throw a whole bunch of examples at you, how to do unpivot easily, how to do changes, how to do all kinds of stuff, it could be a bit much. But if you send me a message on LinkedIn, then I will send you that script from Dfinity, which has a whole lot of stuff in it. Right? Deal? Imagine, right? I'm saying DBO fact table, right? And I'm going to say that I want to, instead of doing like just a join to a dimension table, right? On the business key is the business key and the date. I'm not big on between, but and the date between whatever. I'm not going to bother typing. I'm just telling you. You understand that query, right? For being able to do a lookup to find the thing, but maybe the row's not there. And worst is if it hits 2, which annoyingly happens because people forget whether they're supposed to leave a day between the start and end, or whether it's a mess. You see people going, I didn't know that we had to add a date to the end date to find it. Right? So what I prefer to do is not this, right? I prefer to go outer apply, select dot one. Right. Whatever, start from my dimension table. Right. Where d dot bk equals f dot bk and d dot, well, actually all I'm going to do is go d dot start date is less than or equal to f dot fact date. Right? Fortify d dot start date descending. I'm going to call that D1. You see what's going on here? Ignore the squiggly underlines. I don't need to run it. You'll just believe me this works. I want to query my dimension table, right? To get the lookup value for this business key, right? You know this query. The thing that you might not be conscious of is this concept of going, I just want to get the latest, the last start date before the fact appeared, right? Do you notice what I'm not referring to? I'm not referring to end date because I don't care about end date, right? That gives me a few benefits. For a start, when I get a new value, I don't need to go and update the end date. I can make my warehouse insert only, which is huge. All your warehouses should be insert only, especially in your Fabric world. Because let's face it, that data is going to be stored in, part K. Massively compressed. You don't want to suddenly be having to do an update on that. Don't use end dates. Just use start date and then find it like this. In a T-SQL world, this is really easy to index for, right? Because you index on this and this descending, and you go straight to the row, right? The only thing I need, and it doesn't matter if my end dates might have overlapped or whatever, I just want the newest one that's been inserted for that business key, and it's going to be the right one at that point in time. I don't want to go current flag of, see you later. Everybody say goodbye. Goodbye. Listen, don't agree. I'm getting thumbs up from Daniel.
I'm the one that wants.
He's going to tell me how to get a new job. It's fine. She'll come back. Please. It doesn't matter to me.
Does to me.
Come back for Kelly. I don't want to have to do it is current or anything like that query on here. I just want to go, what's the latest one? If I always want the actual just latest one, I don't need this and predicate. I can just go get me the latest one. Right? Imagine in this scenario that I've got like a late arriving dimension member or whatever, right? And I don't have an entry in that one yet, right? Before that fact date, right? If that happens, there's times when a product appears and an order appears, but actually the product only gets put in after the date that I've got for the order date. And when I try and look it up like this, I can't find it, right? And I just put another one in here, which I call D2, right? And in this one, I'm just going to go, I know that I don't have any beforehand, so I'm just going to get the earliest one. Okay? But I'm still just getting exactly one. I only want to do this if I didn't get a value the first time. I'm using D1 BK because I know that I would have had to have had one to be able for that to work. And if I look at the query plan for that, it puts a filter operator in there with a thing called a startup expression predicate. You'll see that it's got two seeks in there, but the other one only runs if the first one didn't produce a row. Brilliant. And I can easily just figure out which ones I'm interested in because I can, I can use like is null, for example. Or if I want to refer to the whole row, I can easily test afterwards, is D1 BK null or is D2 BK null? But look at this, add a reply, we're not getting rid of a row. Top one, it's only possible one row coming back, right? This produces either one row or 0 rows. The outer reply means it doesn't care if it's 0 rows. We are protecting our fact table. Right? I look at this code and I go, that I guarantee this gives me exactly one row. The same number of rows as my fact table has. Right? So I can debug that. I can see what's going on. I can optimize it for seeks on that, and I can make it quick. Let's face it, I don't really want it to be doing like, hash matches and so on because that puts a whole lot of stuff into memory, which ends up being expensive. Reads are a lot cheaper than they used to be, right? Add or apply will often lend itself to a nested loop with a seek underneath, especially if you've got an index in place for that. Embrace that. You'll find it's quicker. You'll see the reads will go up. The estimates might say it's more expensive, but if you run it, you'll almost always find that it's quicker than doing it some other way, like with a hash match or whatever, right? That's it protects your fact table. And for me, that is huge, right? So, the things that we've looked at, I'm going to switch to my Definity script just because I've got extra things that I'll be saying, oh yeah, I didn't talk about that, but it kind of gives you the teaser, right? Don't just look at the recording and look at the script. Right? I give the example of how that works. I show the pain of doing like a long group by and all that kind of stuff. But I talk about apply with correlated subqueries like you saw, right? And I take a brief glance in the longer version of this, right? I do the add or apply thing, which is huge, right? Working calculations, I showed you this, right? How I can do stuff. I can compare like GST price. Apparently I called it something slightly different last time, but the same concept, as you know. Unpivot because unpivot sucks. And here I'm just doing cross apply with select that and union all select that. Maybe I don't want them all, and so I can put a where clause in there and only get the ones that I care about. But look at that. So intuitive, right? If you've ever written unpivot, you'll know that it sucks. It really does. Oh my goodness, it's painful. Cross apply like this, so easy. Use the row from the current table if we've got one. Otherwise, use the historic one, right? I see scenarios where people do it ends up using current, but then it does a union all with looking at historical, but then it's got to do a check to see if it's in current again, right? So and I was like, you know what? Why don't we do like a full join between? I'll put some rows in the example, and you can do this union all thing. You can do this union all. So my take is, I can actually do it using like a full join between them, going, I might not have a row here, or I might not have a row here. I might have a row in both, and that's fine. I'm actually going to use the other one. Now, I can do it with lots of case statements as to which row I want, or I can just use a little cross apply and be like, I only want that row, or I want that row. And I can use star in there, and it's fine. And I can guarantee I'm not introducing extra rows and all that kind of stuff. Beautiful. Fantastic thing. The concept of doing an update, right? Check this out. If I'm wanting to update some table with some, like, I'm wanting to denormalize my tables a bit more, take some of my fact data in summary in my dimension tables, because, performance reasons, you might want to do that. So I'm imagining that my product subcategory table has a product count column and a max list price column. And I can do this, right? You can do this, right? By just going, I've got a whole product subquery, that's painful, right? You can do an update on an alias, right? But actually, you can't do this because it says, I can't do update S because I've got a group by. It says, sorry, you can't do group by like that with an update. No, it's just not supported, right? But with apply, you can. You know why? Because you're protecting the base table. That's the reason why you can't do update with group by, because it just goes, hang on a second. That line there in the resultant data set refers to multiple rows. Hey, don't be stupid, I can't do that. Apply means every row in my result set is referring to exactly one row in product subcategory. So it's not just about being able to go, I'm protecting that for the sake of debugging my transforms, right? You can even do it to be able to get around, the fact that you want to do it like this, but it doesn't let you. So you do it like this and it just works. So useful. Okay. And I did clean up. Anyway. So yeah, I like apply. Did you get that impression? That's it for me.
questions? Anything anyone wants to ask?
It was all so clear that you just makes the whole thing. Yeah, go for it.
That's one. Something totally unrelated, but also.
Unrelated. Okay, are you all interested in the unrelated question? Are there any related questions before we answer this one? You are interested in his question? That's fine.
No.
1 second. If it's unrelated, are there related questions? Got a related question?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's what is that?
Yeah. Come back to you, I promise.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad.
No.
Come on.
I wanted to know, like, what's your favorite SQL function apart from
Apart from apply, because I do like
yeah.
apply. What's my favorite
Yeah.
T-SQL thing? Oh, I don't know. Look, my favorite thing in SQL, I think, is actually is the query plans and the simplification of it and so on. I love the query optimizer more than I love any particular T-SQL things. But honestly, I love apply because it's so useful in so many different ways, right? Because honestly, I show people how to use apply, and then they start using it, and they're just like, yeah, I don't know how I did it before, and that's good. Anyway, it's that yeah.
Sometimes we have migrations where people migrate their on-prem SQL server to Databricks Unity Catalog or whatever. Yeah. And then the apply doesn't work in Spark.
No, I get it. Right, yeah.
So what would be equally performant alternative for Spark SQL? So like I said, it's not exactly related to this. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for example, in Postgres they don't have apply, but they have like join lateral, for example.
Okay.
And I think Spark SQL has something similar to that, where it's not actually apply is like in the ANSI standard, right? But like Postgres doesn't use it, and I would need to check what the equivalent is in
Spark SQL. Yeah.
Spark SQL, but also PySpark does a lot of good stuff as well. But it all comes down to being able to, because let's face it, in a lot of like T-SQL is interpreted, right? It's a script. It has to simplify it all and so on. It compiles it. It has to understand what it's talking about to then go, oh, I know what you mean. You're asking for this, right? Whereas if you use like, Data Factory or pipelines or whatever, really you're kind of writing the execution plan, right?
Yep.
And if you're using that mindset with Spark, then often you can get something that performs how you want because you're imagining the query plan.
Yeah.
Whereas of course for a long time we were living in a T-SQL world, and we had to be like, yeah, I know how to manipulate the query plan by doing this and this and this and putting this index on there and all that kind of stuff. Whereas if you're using a different tool, you've got to be thinking about what your end process actually needs to look like to be able to cater for those things.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it with PySpark or whatever, don't aggregate at the right time. Don't go join and then aggregate later because you've expanded it too much, for example. You need to go join and aggregate to get something more similar to what I'm doing there for the sake of protecting your base table. But yeah, a lot of stuff is harder if but a lot of people still use T-SQL for all kinds of stuff. Anyway, anything else?
Yes. Spark does in lateral.
Lateral. Yeah, cool. So lateral is very much like applying.
Oh, cool.
We have one more day.
You touched on the effects on query plans earlier. Can you expand on that?
Okay, so
Do you want to do that one after?
sure. I'll take it after.
Unless anyone else really wants to.